Welcome to Caseback Watches. My name is Tim, and in this episode I'd like to present you two items which were in the mail this week. Watch, wine. The wine bottle, by the way, was brought at the office by a nice young lady, and she told the secretary, "This is for Tim, he has done something useful, quote. I have no idea what I've done, to be frank. And it came together with a card, initials KL. Thank you, KL. Who's KL? I have no idea. No idea what I've done, but it was useful. Okay, then we'll grab the opportunity in this video and I will present you that wine in a fairly pretentious wine tasting, right? In a fairly pretentious wine tasting. This will be the second half of this video. And now let's talk about the watch. Poljot Alarm. I'm a little bit obsessed with alarm watches, especially if they are Thule, because I've read an article about the traveling culture in countries with great distances, back then in the 40s, 50s, 60s and so on. And we're talking basically about Russia or the former Soviet Union, and we're talking about the United States and parts of Latin America, where you can find huge distances, where you have to travel days and days with the train or the bus. And the center of this traveling culture is the waiting room or the waiting hall. I mean, if you watch an old movie, like let's say Road to Perdition, Tom Hanks, mobster, Chicago 20s, there you can see this large waiting room filled with hundreds of people, and they had to wait there sometimes several hours, sometimes an entire day. And from time to time you need a nap. And then you need something which can waken you up. And back then it was mostly an alarm watch. I mean, you could bring your alarm clock from your bedroom, but it's not very realistic, right? And so those alarm watches, rather Thule, rather cheap alarm watches, were immensely popular in Russia and the United States. Think of Poljot or Hamilton, for example, produced some decent alarm watches. And this I really love, because if you find this context in the watch, if you find those vibes from those times where traveling was an adventure. By the way, one of my favorite fashion illustrator, Lawrence Fellows, he drew one time, I think I cut in the picture in this video, he drew there a gentleman in an aircraft, and in front of the window, a fighter aircraft. So very, very exciting picture, which says everything we want to hear about traveling in those times. And I've owned several Digital Cultre Memovox from the 60s. Beautiful, rather simple watches, but delicate vintage watches, right? 60s, and so it was always a little bit terrifying to wear them. And nowadays, Digital Cultre produces, of course, new watches with alarm function, but they are super luxurious and super pricey, and it doesn't go in my head that somebody uses this function really for the purpose it was designed. Am I wrong? Then please tell me. If you are the lucky owner of a super luxurious Digital Cultre with alarm function and you use the alarm function, please tell us when do you do this? In regular or one time a year? By the way, somebody complained in the comments that I haven't pronounced Digital Cultre the correct way. I'm very sorry. No, I'm not. And so I was very happy when I found this on eBay, and I picked it under 100 euros, so very affordable. And wearing this, I really can see the salesman back then who had to travel from, let's say, New York to Los Angeles with the train, or from Leningrad to Vladivostok. These are how many thousand kilometers, and I can see him in the waiting room. And he had to depend on a really reliable mechanism to waken him up. And this was, in this case, the Poljot Alarm watch. I mean, this is not a vintage watch. This is a new watch, but the idea behind it is vintage, and the movement is some sort of vintage. And yeah, I think we should go in the light box, examine the watch in every detail. There are some downsides, and I will tell you about the downsides as well. And after the light box, I think we will open that bottle, right? And we will enjoy a very pretentious wine tasting. So let's go. Okay, here we are with our Poljot Alarm. let's go over the basic specifications. We're looking at a watch with 36 millimeters, so a very classic size. I haven't measured the thickness, to be frank, but as you can see, it's pretty average. It's pretty comfortable on the wrist. I think it's, yeah, what is it, 11, 12 millimeters. And the lug width here is 18 millimeters. We have a case back with an inner bezel. This is the opening mechanism. The case is entirely polished, as you can see. Nothing wrong with it, but nothing special. But, excuse me, not entirely. This is, the case back is brushed without any decoration. The crystal is mineral glass. This is, of course, not the material of choice, but we have to see that this watch, this was slightly used, and you can pick them up under $100 US, under 100 euros on eBay, no problem. I think new, what is the price new? 200 maybe? I'm not sure, but maybe about 200 euros or 220 US. So very affordable watch. Here you can see two crowns. The first crown is for the alarm function. The second crown is for the movement. This is the basic construction. You can find this pretty much on almost every alarm watch. Please note that the lugs are short. They are very short, and sometimes this causes problems with the strap. If you have a thick leather strap, then the leather tends to be in contact with the metal here. This is not comfortable. This is strange feeling on the wrist. And so I replaced the original strap, which was totally rubbish, was red, matched the red indices, but it was rubbish, absolutely rubbish. So I threw it away, and unfortunately I don't know the manufacturer anymore, but here you have a strap with rounded spring bars. And this is very helpful in these cases, because yes, now you can see here an even space between the metal case and the leather. The inner values here, or let's speak about first about the dial. This is the downside. I promised you a downside. The downside is the varnish quality. It's not super even. Sometimes you can see tiny lumps in the varnish, and they are on a regular base, so to speak. So we're not talking about a manufacturing problem. We're talking about a rather cheap method to varnish the metal of the dial. And you cannot see this from this distance maybe, but if you're very close to the watch, then you can see that the varnish is, yeah, comes with less quality. Comes with less quality compared to another entry level or mid-tier watch. So this is my personal downside here, that the details are not perfect, but okay, we're talking here about a 100 euro watch or 100 US watch. The second little downside is that the crowns, I think the crowns are chrome plated, because I can spot, I'm not sure, but I think I can spot there a little bit of brass under the chromium. So I think the crowns are chrome plated. But okay, inside ticks a legendary AS movement. AS stands for Adolf Schild, was a company back then in Switzerland, and they were the Celita or the ETA of those days. And here again, this nice story. The Russians bought, I don't know when, I think in the 70s, bought old machinery from Switzerland, and now they produce those older movements new in Russia. And the official name of this is Poljot such and such, but the construction is 100% that AS movement. And it's a really robust and reliable and accurate movement. Accurate is a little bit, yeah, it's astonishing, because it's very rudimentary and it's very slow. This ticks with 18,000 beats per hour. If you compare this to your Daytona or Zenith El Primero, which makes taka 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 tak, this makes tuck 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 tuck. And the movement is a hand winding model, and so it's very basic, it's very simple. You wind it up with this crown, and you wind up the alarm with that crown. If the alarm is not wound at all, without any tension, then you can hear the bumper. This is normal. People sometimes are upset when they hear this. Oh no, there's something wrong with my watch. There's something broken in it. No, it's not. It's the bumper. It's the bumper without any tension makes this noise. And if you give him a little, oh, this was set to the alarm. Excuse me. If you give the bumper a little wind only, then it's, let me focus the camera, then it's perfectly silent. Hear this? There's nothing more. So, but let's hear the alarm in full beauty. I wind it. Focus, man, focus. And you can set the time of the alarm to, let's say, 6 o'clock in the morning. And now let's manipulate the time so that we can hear the alarm. There it is, 6 o'clock. Dimitri, you have to catch the train. Okay, that's the sound. By the way, the sound is very similar to other alarm watches. Nothing special, nothing inferior, nothing superior. It sounds like an old memo box. Okay, and now, gentlemen, I think now it's time for a drink. Gentlemen, let's begin with our tasting. Les Granges des Domaines Edmond de Rothschild, 2015. This was Portuguese and French, I think. 2015, so rather young. Haut-Medoc, yeah, costs about 15 euros. I think it's not good style to check this, but for this video I checked the price to tell you. The problem with Bordeaux is that you have to pay for the name. And the second problem is that Bordeaux is designed to go with a nice meal. Filet mignon, or bœuf bourguignon, or your nice steak. And so it's rather light. It's rather light. Not so much of body, not so much of alcohol, not so much of fruit, but with a distinctive acid in it, tannins. Is this the correct word in English? I think tannins, so that you have a counterpart to a rich sauce, for example. And so most people are really disappointed when they drink a Bordeaux in front of the fireplace together with your wife or your girlfriend, and they want, in reality, they want chocolate, right? They want chocolate and something really sweet and rich, and this is not the correct wine for this. And Bordeaux should be on the table with, let's say, 16 degrees. So this was in the refrigerator for 20 minutes, about 20 minutes. You don't want it cold, of course, but you don't want it straight from the cupboard in your 30 degrees apartment. Now it's hot, so it's a little bit hard for me with this jacket, but pretentious wine tasting, pretentious wine tasting. Okay, and it's always better to open the bottle a few hours before you drink it. I've forgotten this, never mind. We can live with this. So let's open it and let's check the wine. Let's check the wine. And I've told you about the price. You pay for the name Bordeaux. And so if you find in your local supermarket a Bordeaux, a very young Bordeaux for 8 or 10 bucks, forget it. I'm very sorry. But if you want to spend 10 or 8 bucks on a wine, then buy yourself a nice wine from South America, Australia, Spain, Italy, but not necessarily from France. You need some money to have a really good Bordeaux. A really good Bordeaux costs way more, unfortunately. This is the problem. Let's begin here. Nice drop of wine. What was this? I don't know. Oh, never mind. Okay. Okay, needs some air, of course. Have to make this pretentious face now. And the first thing you may notice is a little bit brownish. This is good. The older the wine, the more brown you can see here. If you see there's some lilac and really bright red, then it's young. And nobody needs a young Bordeaux. This is, totally useless. And next information, you can read every aroma and you can smell every aroma from the wine. And you don't have to drink it. There's everything in the bouquet of the wine. And here I smell, let's be a little bit pretentious, blackberry, currant, paprika, a trace of women's saddle. And now let's taste it. I want to thank Austin Daniels for the idea, by the way. All the best to you. I mean, let's be realistic. Why is this pretentious to find blackberry in this and women's saddle and other leather? Because it's, in my eyes, nearly impossible to distinguish between, let's say, one dark berry and another one, which is slightly different. I mean, and it's very obvious that a red wine has some sort of dark fruits in it and some sort of spice. This is really, really obvious. And so what I want from a good Bordeaux or a good red wine, I want an equilibrated product. Equilibrated means between sweet and sour. I don't want it super sweet, I don't want it super sour. I don't want mountains of tannin in it, but I don't want either always this plummish or Coke. Sometimes you can taste Coca-Cola in red wine. I don't want that. And I want the taste long enough. I want the taste long enough, and I want a good body. Not too thick. It's like a lady, excuse me, but it's true. Cut, this is not PC. So you know what I mean. I don't want a thick, fat, rich red wine, and then you can drink such a quantity and then you're done with it, and then you want a beer or something, or long drink. I want it in the middle. I want it equilibrated, and I want it that way that I want another glass. And so this stuff here, this wine, to be frank, it's not bad. It's not bad, it's refreshing in a way. It's refreshing, at the same time it's smooth enough to enjoy it without a steak, but I think it can go with a steak. In 3 hours the body shows up, and then we can finish the bottle together with a nice steak. So if you're not really into wine and you want to drink a Bordeaux, then be prepared. It's a slightly lighter red wine, and it goes good together with meat. But it's not some sort of chocolate or marmalade. Sometimes you can find those wines and they go with nothing because they are super sweet and super rich. This thing has 13.5% of alcohol, so this is not very much, but you can find Bordeaux with 12% of alcohol, and so you can, during a 2-hour dinner, you can finish an entire bottle. If you drink a little bit of water together with it, then you will wake up without a headache. And so, yeah, okay, yeah, thank you, KL. Thank you for this wine. We will enjoy this tonight. And now let me tell you my favorite wine anecdote. I've made an interview with a very famous sommelier, master sommelier, and I asked him, what was the best wine you ever drank? And he told me, yeah, there was this really cool tasting with wines from La Bordelais, Rhône, all those famous areas. What was the second? My goodness. Yeah, one sip of wine and I cannot think clearly. What was the famous? Bordeaux and Bourgogne. Meu Deus, Bourgogne. And there were marvelous bottles open, and he tasted like 40 wines and over several hours. And then I wanted to know what was the best, which was the best. And he told me the best wine I've drank that night was the beer at the train station after the tasting. Yeah. Yeah, and I could follow him exactly, because if you make this as a professional, I've written a book about wine, and if you make this as a professional and you have to taste such quantities, then after that, you want a beer, or in my case, I want then a really sweet long drink, something like good vodka with a sweet tonic or something like that, to wash everything away. And yeah, so let's have another sip. Yes, I can live with it. This is not top stuff, but I can live with this pretty good. So gentlemen, we're at the end of this video. Enjoy your weekend, and maybe until next time.